is up, everybody? My name is Dane Thompson, and welcome back to another episode of BurnDown. So in today's episode, we are playing with the Maliboom. Once again, I just got word that the Banning Airport drag race, so it's like a no prep flashlight style event race, that I was initially putting the car back together for the first time after we heard it, is back on. They canceled it because there's a bunch of fires here in California. So it's back on now, and we're kind of in the same state of affairs we were, while we're a little further behind now. Last time I just hurt the cam. This time we got a whole separate power plant going in. So with that being said, quick update on the power plant. I've got my box of goodies here. I've got a bunch of stuff in there, and then the only two things we're waiting for is my cam bearing install tool, and then an awesome dude named Kurt here on YouTube was like, dude, I'm sending you lifters, because I was going to play lifter roulette. Now I don't have to. I guess there's a new set on the way, so thank you very much again. You really didn't have to do that, man. I was more than prepared to play lifter roulette, but hopefully now we can keep it in one piece and actually work on that 60 foot. So with that all being said, not only do I have to rush to kind of hurry, put this thing together as usual, we'll do a good job on it. I'm not going to rush that. If we miss the race, we miss the race. But the other portion of this car that you may or may not know or have seen in person is I've got a 3D paint job on this thing. I mean, it is just terrible as all get out, especially like this roof area. The rest of the car, it's not very nice. It's not very nice, to say the least. It looks good on camera going fast, and but it's really terrible. I think the people that see it in person are like, wow, that car is a lot worse than I thought. So what we were gonna do, we're just gonna splash a quick paint job on it. I'll show you guys the color of it. It's essentially the same, but we're going with the satin blue that's of the same color. And we're just gonna shoot it right here. I'll just move the motor home, kind of push it back, and we'll have at it. But obviously I gotta prep it. I can't paint it like this, so we're gonna have to strip it down. But before we get that far, the thing that motivated me was the fiberglass. So I've got fiberglass fenders, 65, and then I got fiberglass hood back there. Whoa. And the issue I have, the thing we're gonna work on today, is that hood is a latch hood, so it's a heavier fiberglass hood, but I think it's still lighter than factory, so we can weigh it before we get any further with it, just to see if we're actually saving weight. Then we'll try to bolt it down, and it comes to a point in the front. That's where the original hood is flat. We'll throw them out here side by side before we weigh them and compare them. So since it's fiberglass, I'm assuming I could just cut the front piece off, reshape it, and glue it back on. So that is our project for today. And because it's a race car, I'm not, I can do body work, I do sheet metal, I do steel. I don't really do fiberglass, so this is going to be one of those deals. If you do fiberglass, I'm sorry, but I figure as long as I can just glue that piece back on, it shouldn't be low bearing. I guess if I was pulling down the hood, maybe we'll rip it off at some point, but I just want to get that piece flattened in so it doesn't look like a big duckbill overhang. But we'll put it on the car and see how terrible it looks, because it might not even look that bad, and we can just move on and kind of try to get the fenders and everything on. But if it looks terrible, I'd like to modify the hood before we get too far. So the goal for today is to modify the hood and then possibly hang the fenders. We got the car scales out. I zeroed it out. We've only got two hooked up, left, front, and rear. Might as well move these so we don't kick them or step on them or anything. So what we'll do now is we'll throw the fiberglass hood on, which I want to show you guys. So it's a cowl hood, and then this is a bolt on, so it's got the structure and everything. So this is, I would imagine, significantly more than like a race hood, because the race ones are just flimsy. But let's see what the difference is. So let me throw this down here, and then we'll get the steel hood out. Alright, so there's a total weight. That's pretty heavy still, 32 pounds. So this thing is 32 pounds. We'll throw you guys up here, and then we'll replace that with the steel hood, see if there's any savings. I feel like there is, but we'll check it out. Okay, so here's my stock hood. I cut bracing out. We cut some holes in it. Let's see what it weighs. All right, 53, and that's what they cut up. So 32 to 53, all that for 20 pounds. 20 pounds is 20 pounds, I guess. So, like I said, we got the cowl hood, and it has all the bracing and stuff in it. I know at 30, I bet a race weight hood would probably be maybe half of that, but it's still, you know, 20 pounds lighter, and then it's got the cowl, so I don't have the holes and stuff in it. And then these things, obviously we'll have to transfer these, weigh basically nothing, and then the letters and stuff if we want to do that. So anyway, we'll weigh the fenders too when we take those off. So we got 20 pounds saved so far, which will offset the intercooler that weighs more than that, and then hopefully we'll get the rest of the weight from here. I'm curious to see on these though. I'm hoping those are significantly lighter than these. Okay, I did it a couple times and zeroed it out, so it's 54 and 33. So it's 21 pounds saving on those. Before we get started real quick, I was like, yeah, we already got the scales. It's already turned on. So here's a fender. So the front fender weighs 11 pounds. So we'll keep that in mind if we get to pull one of these off. If not, we'll just do a back-to-back comparison at that point. But yeah, so 22 pounds for the fenders, and then basically all of this weighs the same as that hood, so that's not too bad. So whatever the fenders are, that's going to be our real savings, because you figure these are 12 pounds, so you're looking at 22 for both of those, and I literally saved 21 on this hood. So that's kind of cool. So it's basically like driving this car without fenders with the steel hood on it. Okay, we cut some hardware down because it's a different size than the original hood. Now the fun part, I think you guys will enjoy, because a lot of you were like me and you work by yourself. Installing a hood by yourself. And then the other issue I have is these are the hinges that are made for a much heavier hood. So we bolt it down. We'll see how it does. Hopefully we don't crack anything trying to pull it down. So I'm gonna have to get a lighter spring as far as hood tension is concerned. But for now, as long as we can shut it with these without breaking it, we'll do that. So yeah, let's put this hood on. Killing the game right now. Alright. Alright, so look at that. I had no idea that a 65 hinge was that much longer. I guess on both sides of this thing. So that's not good. But I guess what we can do is kind of snug those and get it to where we can test fit it. I'll take these off too, and we'll try that. I went to pull on this, and then you could kind of hear it creaking already. Since this thing weighs, you know, a lot less than that, there's not a lot of weight to help it. When you pull on it, it's just fiberglass. So plan B, I'll just take this off, take these out, lay it in here where I think it should go, and then we can at least address the front that way. And then with the hinges off, maybe I can take these heavy springs off, and then we'll figure that out. All right, well, they just left, and I just got my cam installed tool. So maybe we'll just put this over here with the rest of the stuff. So now, besides the lifters, we've got everything for that. But back to what we were doing, I took everything off. So now we will just set this on, hopefully, and then see how it looks. Okay, so it fits in place. Kind Got the little cowl on it, everything fits in. It's tilted down because I don't have the little stops because my hood pins were holding the other hood up. And this is the peak I was talking about. So I absolutely hate that. So see how this is nice and in line, and then it just takes a left-hander, a right-hander, and then this does the same thing. So we are good, and then it just goes off into la la land. But here is the saving grace, is that this is a flat edge, that is a flat edge. So what I'm thinking is we just figure out where we want to make our cut. We make a cut in and then straight. Same with both of these. Then I'll have this piece, which already has the lip and the finish on the bottom. Hopefully we can just shave it down and then put it back in place and glue it. That's the plan anyway. All right, this is my tentative plan. I got a bunch of cardboard laying around, so I'm gonna cut a big strip out of this, or cut this apart so it's the width of the hood. And this hood's actually in good shape, other than, you know, I cut it up for the most part. Actually, this is a nice hood, unfortunately. But what we'll do is, you can see that this hasn't really been damaged ever. So this is basically our shape here. And this mimics what this is, so I'm not gonna get too technical, but this will give me the actual shape that I'm looking for. So we'll just set the hood on a piece of cardboard. I'll just trace that shape, and then we'll cut it, and that'll be our template. And then I should be able to take that and hopefully transfer it to here. And then we can use these edges, you know, as our guide point. And then we'll run the rest up onto the hood, and I should be able to make a line. And then we'll decide how to cut this. I only get one shot at cutting this, so I'm gonna have to make the right decision so we can actually fit it back on. I pulled the hood off, because laying it over the hood, I gotta cut a bunch of that out, and I was like, eh. So to double check the template, so this is our cardboard. So this is pretty well the right shape. The grill seems to protrude a little bit, but I don't care. This is a race car. I am more than happy with this. Hell, this grill's beat up. It could just be out of place, but I'm okay with the shape of that. So I think that profile is gonna look way cooler than the overhang. It's like, let's transfer this to that, I guess. So I'll put the hood back up, kind of lay this on there and give it a look, and then figure out how we're gonna cut that. Okay, so here is the template. I just taped it in place. We will mark it off, and essentially this line is gonna be where this edge needs to be. So we have to cut it and then move it back. We'll figure that out after we mark it, how we wanna cut it. And then, just for a quick overview, this is actually the paint and the color it's gonna be. It is just a satin, it's not gloss. And it's damn near the same color as the car probably used to be. A little darker, but I think it's gonna look nice. So there's the color of that. Let me get this marked off, then we'll figure out how to cut it. This is the edge that I need. So if I cut down the center past where I need, because this is where the hood end needs to line up, then I can basically shave this thing down and put it back. So what we're gonna do is cut this out and then basically bend it to where it matches that line, and then do one side at a time. So basically I'll just cut it like this, and then shave it all down and work it so that way when I put it back on, it'll line up. And if I do one side at a time, this will stay in place. And then I can shave this down to where this line kind of matches with that. And then stick this on hopefully somehow, and then do the opposite side. But we are gonna call Jeff, because he does composites and I don't. So let's see what he has to say.
Hello?
What up, man?
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, I'm working on this hood over here.
Uh-huh.
And I think what I'm gonna do is, it overhangs like 1 3/4 inches. So I made my marks and lines. I think I'm just gonna cut past it, and I'm gonna do it in 2 separate pieces. And I just have to cut one side down and then glue it back on. So if I cut it out and then kind of clean it, can I just use resin to basically glue it back together?
Well, if you don't have any fibers, it'll break right there if it ever gets bumped hard enough.
Okay, so second question, could I basically glue it back together, let that kind of settle up, and then scuff the top, dig it down, and then put mat over the top?
Yeah, that would work.
After it's in place?
You could do the bottom. It'd be better if you did the bottom, though.
Well, okay, well here's another question then. So if that's the case, if I'm just using that to hold it, could I literally just use Bondo to hold it in place because it dries a lot faster? And then scuff and then do the bottom and the top with the actual resin and everything?
Yeah, you just do a big glob of Bondo on the top side, like, you know, get it all flat.
Yeah.
And then do a nice thick spot of Bondo on the top.
Uh-huh.
Knowing that it's not really for structure.
Uh-huh.
It's for
just to hold it?
And that'll hold it all there.
Yeah.
And then just do all of your glasswork from the backside.
Okay, because I could just glob in a bunch of crap and let it all just ooze and do whatever on the bottom.
Yeah. It won't get in your way then.
Okay, so then I can take Bondo and run it on the edge and basically stick it on and glue it, right?
Yep.
Okay.
That's actually, we use Bondo a lot for stuff like that. Just to hold things in place while you are going to do something else.
Yeah, it sets up way faster, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll do that, then I'll mess with it. So thanks, that gives me a good feeling about what I'm doing then. I think I'll get it.
Sure.
Cool, thanks, man.
Send me pictures or anything if you need.
All right, I will. Later, boss.
All right.
Bye.
Later.
Okay, so now I feel good about my decision. So what we'll do is we will cut it, and I'm going to do one side at a time. That way I can make sure the line lines up with the opposite side of the hood. So we'll cut it, shape it, and then when I get it to where I want it, we'll figure out how to glue it on. I think what I can do is, like I said, we can run some Bondo, put it on the edge, smash it in place, and then tape it, because Bondo sets up pretty fast. And then we can take the tape off, and then we have one side that's set. We'll do the other side, and then we just flip it over and booger the hell out of it and get some strength and structure, so when I go to close the hood one day, it doesn't just break off my hand, which could be the case. That'll be a little embarrassing, but let's keep rolling. I feel better about this. All right, no turning back now. So now the plan is the bottom's gonna be ugly, so we'll have to figure that out. I think, you know, we'll do it. I mean, not that it's that pretty anyway, right? But this was the line where I needed this to be, right? So the reason I did it in two pieces instead of one is when you cut it and you bring it down, they're gonna come together, so we can get the centerpiece nice and tight, hopefully. And then also, see this line here? I have to make this edge end up here, right? So this is gonna end up something like that, somehow. We'll just cut it down and fit it until we get it to end up something like that. Whoop. And then once that happens, we'll stick this on somehow, and then we'll do the other side, then we're good to go. Like I said, I think we can trim it down, and we'll use Bondo if we can. Luckily this is pretty thick, so that should hold it pretty well. This gets a little wonky over here, but yeah, that's a pretty thick hood actually. Look at that. Okay, well, we failed at this because I was more worried and concerned about where the peak ended up, you know, something like that. That looks good there, you know, this versus that overhang, which is bitching. But then you come down here and it just goes uphill and you got a big gap. See where that's kind of flat, and then this gap. So obviously I can't have that gap. So cutting this and moving it is not gonna work. So let me devise another plan and then we'll see how we go. Okay, so this is where I'm at now. I just put this metal piece in, it goes all the way across. So that represents the bottom of the hood. This is the ugly that we have to contend with. And then you can see this is kind of the end of it. So the shape, obviously I could obviously have it straight down, but that would be weird. So in reality, this whole thing, I'm gonna have to cut it further back and figure out how to get the nose to kind of curve and look somewhat decent. This is a lot of work, man. And I am just basically digging a hole at this point. You cut that other side off. I got a piece of steel that I cut in a strip. It's about 1/2 inch wide, same distance as that. This isn't concentric anyway, so we're good enough. but that gives me the peak, the end where this needs to end, where I would like it to end, I should say. So that looks good, but this is not. So I'm gonna have to cut this back, and then we'll have to fudge something. I'm thinking like maybe a piece of like welding rod or something, and then I could kind of stick it to there and shape it the way I want it to shape, and then maybe make a few more straps or strips somehow, or pieces, like a skeletal structure, and then we'll just get the fiberglass cloth and lay it over. I don't know how to attach it, but I want to give this some sort of structure. Obviously it's going to move, so we'll have to keep this where I want it, make some sort of skeletal frame, and then we'll lay some cloth over it and make a mess over here. I got some cardboard, and yeah, Elon Musk, you know, in SpaceX, gives me a call after they see this fancy fiberglass work. It's gonna all be worth it. I know what you guys are thinking. You should have left it alone, and I agree with you guys. All right, we have our skeleton frame in place. So hopefully you can kind of see, it might be hard to see on video, but you know, we've got, this is our edge, and then we've got the rest of the shape where I think it looks good. So now what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna cut out poster board that's the same shape as this portion, and then try to tape it in there if I can, kind of somehow, is the plan. And what this will do, this will give it a little structure in between the open areas, I hope, so that the I think still in between here though, there's really nothing there, so the mat doesn't sag. It's gonna sag, I know it is, because I'm gonna have to lay it over it, but it's the best I got. This is what I can do, and I can body work it. It's funny because it's gonna be hilarious if I put enough Bondo on this that this hood actually weighs more than it did when it started out live. Although I did remove some steel. There were steel structures in here, so hopefully it'll kind of work out. May as well capture this before we do it. That is the shape, and that's going to be our underlay, and I'm going to go over the top of that with fiberglass. Just one round. I'm going to soak the cardboard, so that should harden up as well, and then we will see how we go. So at least hopefully that'll give me the shape that I need, and then we can go from there. So we're trying. We'll see. Wish me luck.
Tomorrow for sure.
All right, so it is the next day. I changed my clothes for the most part. It's in the morning. I was out there pretty late last night. I had a floodlight. I had a couple flashlights. You guys saw me. We made the wire mesh. We cut the front off. And then I ended up putting like cardboard to shape it. And then I just taped that down. And I called Jeff, and he was like, just soak the cardboard because that'll harden too. And then do at least like one layer of fiberglass. So I only did one layer so to keep the weight off it, because I wasn't sure if I soaked the cardboard if it would just turn all flimsy. So hopefully what we should have is hard fiberglass that's hopefully still on the hood, and it was just one layer with the cardboard and everything underneath. So if that hardened up, then we can pile stuff on top and feather it out more and do probably just a couple layers, but I have to do the bottom side as well. So let's open it up. Hopefully the thing's not like on the floor, and we'll see what it looks like, our masterpiece, huh? All right, well, it's still curing, so I need to get some heat on it. So probably maybe turn it around to the sun because it's leaving my nail embedded, but it's not terrible. Other than it's not 100% dry yet. It's close. You gonna show him that? He got a new drone yesterday for my friend Jim for his birthday, so we're gonna try to fly this right now as well. But yeah,
on Saturday.
Hold on, buddy. So I just want to take a look. So like I said, there's one layer of glass, and see, it did shrink up because it dips, so I can feel some of the structure. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with that, dude. Awesome. I think it's success.
Eventually.
I give you the Maliboom hood. Check this baby out. So we still got a mess. I did the bottom side a couple rounds. I did the top side, and then this is still from the wet layup. No body work, no nothing. But I feel like you can see we still got a little bit of overhang on it because I really didn't want to clean it up too much because I'm out of time. But I think all in all, we nailed it. For having learned this watching Pimp My Ride, I'm pretty excited. And who knew you could just kind of throw cardboard in there and some crap, and then it just, you booger it on, and then you look good. So obviously we got some sanding to do, some body work, but I'll be able to body work this and it'll look decent. Again, it's race car. This is gonna look great from 100 miles an hour. And I keep joking with Reed and Jeff that now that Elon Musk is gonna see this and I'm gonna be part of SpaceX, you guys don't have to call me D-Lon Musk. Or if Tim McAmis sees it first, I'm gonna be Dane McAmis. But yeah, we got a little bit of stuff kind of sticking up. There's multiple layers. Anyways, we'll get it. I'm very excited about it considering I have no idea what I'm doing with composites. So that pretty much chewed up my whole weekend. I gotta clean up. The sun is going down. We'll wrap this thing. We gotta do it all again. Next up on the block is gonna be the 65 fenders, which is cool because they have a peak right here. See, these are flat. Those just have a bit of a point. So it'll be kind of a hybrid. So this is technically a 65 hood now that I've converted it to a 64, but then the fenders are gonna have the peak. So I think that'll look pretty bitch and it'll make it look a little more aggressive. So that is it. You guys know what to do. Thank you for following along, watching these painful videos of me struggling to get this thing back in action. But the good news is I've got pretty much everything. I know the lifters are on their way, and then we can get back into engine stuff while we kind of do this. So we'll bounce back and forth, but we'll get the front end on, start prepping for paint, start putting a motor together. We got to get this thing back to the track and running, hopefully better than before. You guys know what to do. Like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your cousins, tell whoever. I'm out.